What happens when a single selfie shatters a narrative? Because out of all the awkward glances, cropped frames, and frosty encounters that night, one interaction managed to capture the internet's full attention and amplify the humiliation Meghan Markle had been desperately trying to bury. Enter Bella Hadid, supermodel, Vogue cover darling, Met Gala icon, Gen Z's it girl with millennial respect. In short, Hollywood's favorite chameleon. Someone who knows how to surf the tides of public favor, not swim against them. And on the night of the Gotham Film Awards, she became an unexpected player in Meghan's unraveling. But was it really an accident? Or was it something more strategic? Let's retrace the moment. Roughly 45 minutes into the Gotham event, just after the tribute presentation for Rihanna and A$AP Rocky concluded, Meghan was seen hovering near the decorative champagne bar, a space framed with lush floral arches and a popular spot for influencer snaps and casual celebrity banter. Bella Hadid was there too, draped in a vintage Alaya gown, sipping a mocktail, chatting with a circle of fashion insiders. And Meghan saw an opportunity. According to eyewitnesses, she approached slowly, measured steps, phone in hand, smile carefully sculpted. She didn't interrupt. She lingered. A minute passed. Then two. Bella turned slightly, catching Meghan's eye. "Hi, Bella," Meghan reportedly said. "You look stunning tonight." A compliment. Polite. Measured. Bella nodded. "Thanks. You too." And then came the moment. Meghan gestured to her phone. "Can we get a quick photo? I'd love to send it to my stylist." What followed was perhaps the most dissected selfie in celebrity culture since Ellen's Oscars moment. Bella stepped forward. Meghan leaned in. Someone nearby offered to take the photo. 2 flashes. Done. It should have ended there. But it didn't. Because just minutes later, that photo leaked. Not through Meghan's team, but through Bella's assistant's Finsta account. The caption? "That smile you give when you can't say no." Ouch. The image spread like wildfire. And it told a story far different from what Meghan had likely hoped for. Bella, mid-smile, lips tight. Meghan, leaning just a bit too close. Their body language? Mismatched. Meghan radiated eager warmth. Bella? Controlled neutrality. People noticed. Theories exploded online. Some claimed it was just awkward timing. Others argued Bella's expression was deliberate, a signal. One viral tweet put it bluntly. Bella posed with Meghan like she was taking a photo with her ex-boyfriend's new stepmom. The body language breakdowns came next. Popular TikTok behavior analysts weighed in. She's leaning away slightly. Notice how her hand doesn't touch Meghan's back. That smile? It's a deflection. Even worse. Bella didn't repost the photo. Not to her grid. Not to her story. Not even a great seeing you mention. Silence. And in the celebrity ecosystem, silence is louder than a scream. But here's where things got truly chaotic. Within hours, rumors swirled that Meghan had tried to pitch the photo to multiple media outlets via her team, hoping to use it as proof that her night was filled with positive encounters. One fashion blog allegedly received a pitch that read, "Meghan Markle and Bella Hadid share a warm moment at the Gotham Film Awards. Female solidarity on full display." The blog declined. Another editor leaked the pitch entirely, blurring the contact name, but leaving in just enough for the internet sleuths to confirm its authenticity. Public reaction? Brutal. That's not solidarity. That's strategy. She's trying to PR her way into the cool girls club. Leave Bella out of your rebrand. But let's dig deeper. Because this wasn't just a failed photo op. It was a rupture in Meghan's entire post-royal brand strategy. Since leaving the monarchy, Meghan had worked tirelessly to align herself with a new tier of celebrity, one that prized authenticity, activism, and carefully curated cool. Bella Hadid, with her politically conscious posts, mental health advocacy, and editorial clout, seemed like a perfect adjacency. But adjacency isn't affinity. And Meghan's mistake wasn't taking the photo. It was assuming that a photo equaled permission. Permission to share. Permission to associate. Permission to claim relevance by proximity. And in today's world of ultra-curated personal branding, that assumption is fatal. Because Bella didn't just withhold approval. She let the internet draw its own conclusions. And they weren't kind. Reddit threads exploded with analysis. She looks like she wants to teleport out of the frame. Meghan's doing that thing again, latching onto younger, trendier women to stay relevant. She's trying to rebuild the brand by association. It's transparent. Even Bella's fans chimed in, flooding her comments with praise for staying classy and not feeding the headlines. And then came the twist. A day later, an anonymous source from Bella's camp spoke to a well-known gossip podcast. Bella was being polite. She didn't want to cause a scene, but she felt uncomfortable. It wasn't a planned interaction. Translation? Damage control, not for Meghan, but for Bella, because Meghan's presence had become a risk. And Hollywood doesn't like risks that don't deliver returns. It's here that we must pause and ask, how did Meghan become the woman no one wants to stand next to? She once held the world's attention hostage. Royal, activist, actress, archetype of modern femininity. Now, she's a punchline in someone else's group chat. And while the Bella incident might seem minor compared to the grand narrative, it represents something far bigger. It shows us that Meghan's problem isn't hate. It's irrelevance. She's no longer the main event, not the center of the lens, not the draw. She's become the woman trying to insert herself into other people's headlines, trying to appear in other people's photos, trying to ride other people's moment. And when that becomes your strategy, people start to pull away, just like Bella did. But Meghan wasn't ready to admit defeat, because behind the scenes, her team was already scrambling to contain the narrative. They issued feelers to press outlets, suggesting positive reception and private conversations with multiple celebrities. They even suggested Bella and Meghan might collaborate in the future. Bella's team? Silent. Then came the leaked group chat, the one that would take this situation from awkward to catastrophic. Because what was said in that chat would reveal just how many people had noticed Meghan's attempts, and how many were laughing behind her back. And what came next would make even her most loyal allies question everything. What's worse than being laughed at? Being laughed about in private. And when that laughter leaks into the public arena, when it escapes the luxury lounges and encrypted iMessages of Hollywood's elite, it doesn't just humiliate. It exposes. And that's exactly what happened to Meghan Markle in the fallout of the Gotham Film Awards. Because up until now, everything could have been spun. The red carpet rejection? A misunderstanding. The awkward selfie with Bella Hadid? A matter of timing. The cold shoulders in the VIP room? Jealousy, maybe. Or nerves. But this was irrefutable. Because this wasn't speculation. This wasn't tabloid gossip. This was receipts. A leaked group chat. Screenshots. Names. Conversations. Tone. Tone that dripped with mockery, sarcasm, and the kind of quiet cruelty that only exists between people who think they're invincible behind locked screens. The story broke just after midnight, 2 days post-Gotham, when the celebrity gossip account at Dumois posted an anonymous tip that read, "Y'all, someone's about to leak a celeb stylist group chat from Gotham Night. The way they dragged Meghan is nuclear." At first, it sounded like just another bluff. Another clickbait headline. Until the screenshots dropped. The chat was titled, "Gotham Glam Gate 2025 High-Heeled Shoe Movie Camera Bottle with Popping Cork." The participants? At least 2 stylists with verified clients on the carpet. A celebrity makeup artist, a PR assistant from a well-known firm, an editor from a mid-tier fashion publication, and, reportedly, a cousin of a major A-lister left unnamed. The subject? Meghan Markle's every movement during the event. And they didn't hold back. Sis hovered like a drone with a dead battery. If I had $1 for every time she pretended to check her phone near the Finney table, she asked 3 people for a pic. Not one reposted. I'd crawl into the earth. It's giving LinkedIn networking energy at Coachella. She wanted that Bella pic to be a NYT-style feature. Bella wants it deleted from the cloud. But the most brutal line? She doesn't want inclusion. She wants validation. And she thinks standing near cool people makes her cool. It hit like a bullet. Suddenly, everything Meghan had done that night wasn't just being observed, it was being ridiculed. And by the exact people she was trying to impress. The screenshots spread fast. At Popcrave. At the Shade Room. At Page 6. Even fashion insiders on Twitter posted cryptic reactions, all pointing to the same undercurrent. They're done with her. And just like that, Meghan's worst fear wasn't just realized, it was amplified. Because a private humiliation is survivable. But a public betrayal? That leaves scars. Now here's where the plot thickens. Because Meghan's team didn't respond publicly. Not at first, but behind the scenes. Panic. An insider close to her camp told the Daily Beast. They weren't just blindsided. They were livid. Meghan didn't expect full A-list adoration, but she did expect professionalism, not group chat clownery. But that wasn't the worst part. Because while Meghan's team was preparing to go into full crisis mode, the group chat continued, and another screenshot dropped. This time, it wasn't just stylists. It included a blue-check celebrity. Their name was blurred, but their message was clear. Honestly, it's getting sad now. She's chasing moments that don't exist anymore. She needs a better team. Or a reality check. Theories swirled online. Who said it? A former co-star from Suits? A singer she once sat beside at the British Fashion Awards? A talk show host who used to praise her in monologues? The internet played detective. Facial expressions from old photos were reanalyzed. Past interviews combed for clues. And although the identity was never confirmed, one thing was unanimous. It was someone who had been close. Someone who had seen the shift. Someone who was now willing to let her twist in the wind. And twist she did. Because the group chat wasn't just a petty side story, it became the story. Memes exploded. Meghan Markle when she finds out she's the main topic in a group chat titled, "Yikes Duchess Crown Fire Skull." POV, you're trying to rebrand but stylists with NDAs start leaking your thirst traps. Some joke that Meghan was now the queen of unposted photos. Others posted side-by-sides of her red carpet poses next to Regina George being ignored in Mean Girls. Even worse, late-night comedians joined in. Trevor Noah, yes, him again, quipped on his podcast. Imagine walking into a room, trying to rebuild your brand, and leaving as a trending hashtag under hashtag cringe energy. Seth Meyers devoted an entire segment to royal fallout, the Gotham Chronicles, ending with, "When Rihanna's team won't even accidentally stand next to you." It's time to rethink the mission. But perhaps the most telling sign of Meghan's collapse came from those who didn't comment. No celebrities defended her. No stylists posted a redemption shot. No talk show hosts offered her a slot to clear the air. Silence. Total. Strategic. Brutal. And here's the gut punch. Meghan had always prided herself on controlling her narrative. Through interviews. Through docuseries. Through podcast monologues. But a leaked group chat? That's the one battlefield she couldn't control. And it cut deeper than any tabloid headline. Because it wasn't orchestrated hate. It was mocking apathy. And in Hollywood, apathy is death. But Meghan wasn't about to give up. Not yet. Because just when the noise became unbearable, her team made a desperate move. A call to Vanity Fair. A pitch to Vogue. An offer to do a reframing feature about the Gotham Awards. A behind-the-scenes look at the high-pressure world of modern womanhood through Meghan's eyes. The hook? How one woman faced down whispers, shadows, and cruel dismissals, and left with her head high. The response? Cold. Vogue reportedly declined. Vanity Fair passed. Harper's Bazaar politely deferred. And the final nail? A media insider leaked that one editor had joked. She wants to be framed as the heroine. But right now, she's the cautionary tale. That line. It became a trending tweet. And yet, Meghan still had one last card to play. Because in her mind, this wasn't just about Gotham. This was a war for relevance. And she had one platform left where her voice still mattered. Instagram. And what she posted next would either spark redemption or light the final match. Because what came next would either rebuild her brand or burn it to the ground. What if the most photographed woman of the decade suddenly found herself invisible? It wasn't a snub whispered in the shadows. It was public, calculated, caught in high definition. And it left Meghan Markle, the Duchess who once captured the world's sympathy and envy in equal measure, standing awkwardly beside two of the most influential names in pop culture, completely ignored. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Rihanna didn't flinch. A$AP Rocky didn't glance. And Meghan? She stood there smiling like her life depended on it. Because in that moment, maybe it did. Not literally, of course, but symbolically, professionally, emotionally, everything was on the line. This wasn't just a red carpet misstep. This wasn't just a celebrity faux pas. This was something far more raw. Far more revealing. This was a reckoning. And if you think that sounds dramatic, just wait. Because once we unravel what really happened at the 2025 Gotham Film Awards, who was there, what was said, what was leaked, and who has been whispering behind the scenes, you'll realize this moment wasn't a fluke. It was a culmination. So, What really went down that night? Why did Rihanna and A$AP Rocky, two stars known for their poise, grace, and carefully curated public images, so brazenly distance themselves from Meghan Markle? Why did Meghan, usually composed and calculating, appear so desperate to insert herself into their orbit? And what does this say about how far she's truly fallen in the eyes of Hollywood's inner circle? Let's rewind. December 1st, 2025. New York City. The 35th Annual Gotham Film Awards. It wasn't just another night of film celebration. It was an unofficial prelude to award season. A night where rising indie stars rubbed shoulders with veteran legends, where paparazzi staked out every angle, and where every interaction, every glance, every frame, was carefully cataloged by social media watchdogs and tabloid editors alike. This year was different. The anticipation wasn't just for who would win. It was for who would show up together. The fashion, the vibes, the alliances. And in the middle of it all, Meghan Markle, the once beloved royal turned Hollywood hopeful. A woman who once shook up Buckingham Palace, who once dominated headlines from London to Los Angeles, now trying to claw her way back into cultural relevance through red carpets and tabloid-friendly appearances. But here's the thing. People noticed something off before she even stepped onto the carpet. Sources say Meghan's team had been working behind the scenes for weeks to secure her a high-profile appearance at the Gotham Awards. Not as a nominee, not as a presenter, just as a presence. A calculated cameo, a staged opportunity to remind the world that she was still in the mix. It wasn't about awards. It was about optics. She wasn't there because of any film she made. None had come out since her failed Netflix cooking series, With Love, Meghan. She wasn't attached to any production that qualified her for the Indie Film Showcase. But she was there. And in her mind, being there was enough. Her outfit was sharp, rumored to be styled by one of Rihanna's former glam team members. Her makeup was flawless. Her smile was rehearsed. Her posture calculated. Everything screamed, "I belong here." But the room told a different story. The whispers started before the cameras even rolled. She's not even part of the industry. Isn't she blacklisted from Netflix projects now? I heard she begged for this invite. And then, Rihanna arrived. There was no slow build-up, no suspenseful pause. When Rihanna enters a room, she doesn't need to announce it. The energy shifts. The lighting feels different. People physically turn toward her, as if some invisible gravitational force demands it. And she wasn't alone. A$AP Rocky, cool and unbothered, walked beside her like a shadow and a shield. The two were draped in designer, styled with military precision, and exuding something Meghan has been trying to reclaim for years: authentic cool. And here's where it gets interesting. Meghan, positioned near the central carpet segment, where most photographers focus their lenses, suddenly found herself just a few feet away from them. Now, imagine this: the flashbulbs going off, the buzz in the air, Meghan slowly pivoting her body toward Rihanna's path, slightly shifting her stance to angle toward the cameras, hoping to be caught in the same frame. A split second, a sharp turn from Rihanna, a step sideways by A$AP, a deliberate repositioning away from Meghan. It was barely perceptible to the untrained eye, but to the internet, it was an instant meme. The video circulated within minutes. Meghan Markle tries to crash Rihanna's photo op. She got curved hard. She's begging to be seen. These weren't just throwaway tweets. These were trendsetters, blue checks, influencers, and they were all telling the same story. Meghan had tried to ride the wave of Rihanna's stardom and got tossed off the board. Now here's where things get deeper, because this wasn't an isolated moment. This was part of a growing pattern that even Meghan's fiercest defenders have started to quietly admit. She's becoming the woman everyone avoids. Think back. The lukewarm reception at the F1 Grand Prix in Las Vegas. The awkward moment at the International Emmy Awards where Trevor Noah visibly dodged a photo with her. The accidental snub from Victoria Beckham's fashion launch in Paris. Even Oprah has grown silent. And yet Meghan keeps showing up, keeps smiling, keeps pretending it's all just coincidence. But is it? That night at the Gotham Awards was supposed to be different. It was supposed to be her redemption arc. A chic return to the public eye after months of failed launches, lawsuits, and silent rejections. But instead, it became a symbol of everything that's gone wrong with the Meghan Markle brand. Because here's what people saw. A woman trying to wedge herself into moments she hadn't earned. A woman who once claimed to flee the spotlight, now desperately chasing it. A woman who, once known for toppling royal tradition, was now being shut out of Hollywood's inner sanctum, not by the press, not by Buckingham Palace, but by her own peers. It raises uncomfortable questions, doesn't it? Has Meghan miscalculated her celebrity status? Has she alienated the very people she hoped would embrace her? Or worse, has the Hollywood elite quietly decided that she simply doesn't belong? And where was Harry in all of this? Nowhere to be seen. Again, the one person who once stood beside her through every backlash, every controversy, noticeably absent. Was it strategic? Was it distancing? Or was it just coincidence? You'll hear a lot of excuses, PR statements, anonymous sources close to the Duchess, spinning the moment into a misunderstanding. But the video doesn't lie. The body language doesn't lie. And neither does the silence that followed. Because after the event, no one came to Meghan's defense. Not one celebrity posted a photo with her. Not one stylist gushed about her look. Not one media outlet praised her presence. Instead, the headlines told a different story. Meghan Markle begs for spotlight, gets cold shoulder from Rihanna. From palace walls to velvet ropes, Meghan's descent. Uninvited vibes. Why Hollywood keeps curving Meghan Markle. So what comes next? Is this just a bump in the road? Or the beginning of a full-blown exodus? You'll want to stay tuned, because the truth gets even messier. Because what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. What happens when the red carpet becomes your battlefield, and you walk in already at war? Because by the time Meghan Markle's shoes touched the velvet flooring outside the Gotham Film Awards, the game was already in motion. Cameras were cocked. Editors had pre-written headlines. Stylists were whispering predictions. And Meghan? She wasn't walking into an event. She was walking into an ambush. But not by paparazzi. Not by royals. By Hollywood itself. Let's rewind the lens, frame by frame, back to the hours before that now-viral red carpet moment. Because what most people didn't see, what didn't make the TikToks or the tabloid headlines, is how calculated Meghan's entire approach was from the very beginning. This wasn't a spontaneous outing. This wasn't a casual stroll into celebrity territory. This was a mission. You see, Meghan's team had been planning this Gotham appearance for weeks. Why this event? Why now? Simple. It was low risk, high reward. The Gotham Awards, though technically an indie film celebration, had become a major stop for celebrity culture. Fashion houses watched it closely. Publicists courted it. Streaming platforms used it to test public sentiment before Oscar season. And Meghan? She had nothing to promote. No new project. No nomination. No presenting duties. But she had everything to gain. Because for someone desperately trying to rebuild an image, after the Netflix cooking show flopped, after her Spotify deal collapsed, after her lifestyle brand, as ever, was quietly pulled from shelves, the Gotham Awards were the perfect stage for an unscripted reinvention. A quick appearance. One viral photo. A well-angled smile next to a major star. That's all it would take to set the rebrand in motion. Or so she thought. Let's talk wardrobe. You don't just show up in any gown when your whole identity is on the line. No, Meghan's outfit was a strategic weapon. Sources close to her styling team revealed she wore a custom look rumored to be inspired by an archival Fenty silhouette. Yes, Fenty, Rihanna's brand. A daring homage? Or a deliberate attempt to align herself visually with Rihanna's iconic fashion legacy? Coincidence? Hardly. Even the earrings, a glint of sapphire set in minimal platinum, were the exact shape and size as the pair Rihanna wore at the 2023 British Fashion Awards. Observers quickly caught the comparison, and the whispers began. Is Meghan mimicking Rihanna's aesthetic? Trying to fit into her lane? But style wasn't the only tool in Meghan's arsenal. She had optics to consider. Before stepping foot on that carpet, her team had already tipped off several photo agencies. They positioned her entrance at the prime camera window, just after the major fashion arrivals, but before the press lost interest and turned to dinner service. This was the golden hour, the sweet spot for getting coverage without direct competition. A tight window, maybe 10 minutes, maybe less. Every movement mattered. And so, when she finally appeared, heels clicking with intention, posture impossibly straight, it wasn't an accident that she paused just long enough under the event's custom backdrop for the cameras to reload. It wasn't random when she slightly shifted her shoulder angle toward the paparazzi to give them the best profile view. This was choreography. But here's where things start to crack. Because despite all the planning, all the pre-event positioning, there was one thing Meghan didn't control. The vibe. And the vibe was off. It was subtle at first. A photographer calling her Mrs. Markle instead of Duchess. An assistant for a major fashion house refusing to offer a quote about her look when asked by Women's Wear Daily. A rising actress walking past her, phone up, selfie ready, and cropping Meghan out of frame in real time. Not malicious, just indifferent. And then there was the movement near the main carpet corridor. Her handlers clocked it first. A ripple in the press pit. Photographers turning. Lenses resetting. Voices whispering. They're here. Rihanna. ASAP Rocky. The two names Meghan's team had explicitly prepared for. You see, they weren't just attending. They were set to receive a surprise tribute award for cultural impact. News that hadn't leaked until that very afternoon. A last-minute addition designed to draw more attention to the ceremony. Meghan hadn't planned on sharing space with Rihanna. She'd expected attention, not competition, and definitely not dominance. Because when Rihanna and Rocky arrived, everything shifted. Suddenly, Meghan wasn't in the spotlight. She was in the spillover. Photographers stopped calling her name. Assistants paused their pacing. Even Meghan herself seemed momentarily frozen. Half smile, half hesitation, like someone trying to calculate whether to retreat or double down. She doubled down. And here's where things take a bold turn. Because instead of stepping aside, Meghan made a move that shocked even some of her own aides. She repositioned herself closer to the arrival path. Angled just slightly off-center from where Rihanna and Rocky were posing. Not in their space, but adjacent. Close enough to get caught in a wide-angle frame. Close enough for speculation. And for a split second, it worked. One photographer caught a frame, Rihanna mid-pose, Rocky smirking, and Meghan standing off to the side with a soft smile. But then Rihanna did something that ended the illusion. She turned, not toward Meghan, but away. A slow, deliberate shift of her shoulders, angling her body fully toward Rocky. Her back half-blocked Meghan's presence from most lenses. No glance, no acknowledgement, just dismissal. And Rocky? He mirrored her. With a slight nudge, he adjusted his stance to square off with Rihanna, cutting Meghan from the frame entirely. It wasn't a confrontation. It wasn't aggressive. It was surgical, a social incision, and it cut Meghan out. The internet noticed immediately. Within minutes, the clip was on X, formerly Twitter. TikTok edits flooded timelines. Instagram stories dissected every micro-expression. She tried to sneak into their shot. Not Rihanna turning her back like she's a wall. Girl thought she was invited to the main table. She's not even on the guest list. But the worst part? The silence from Meghan's side. There was no damage control. No cheeky tweet. No insider spin. Just awkward photos. Frozen smiles. An unmistakable air of rejection. And if you think this is where the story ends, think again. Because what happened after the carpet was even colder. The VIP lounge. The seating arrangements. The whispers among stylists. And the celebrity group chat leak that made everything 10 times worse. But we'll get to that. For now, let's sit with this moment. A moment where Meghan Markle, former Duchess of Sussex, former global phenomenon, former media darling, stood alone on a carpet designed to celebrate influence. And found herself entirely without it. Not because she wasn't visible, but because no one cared that she was. So let me ask you, have we been watching a slow-motion fall from grace this whole time? And just didn't want to admit it? Or is Meghan playing a longer game that the rest of us are too distracted to see? Because what happened backstage, away from the cameras, off the record, that's where this story truly begins. And what came next made the carpet snub look merciful. What makes a power couple untouchable? Is it money? Fame? Style? Influence? All of the above? Because when Rihanna and ASAP Rocky entered the Gotham Film Awards that night, they didn't just arrive, they took command. Without saying a word. Without even trying. It was the kind of entrance that can't be taught. The kind of presence that isn't bought. It's earned, lived, and wielded like a weapon. And that night, it was pointed directly away from Meghan Markle. Now, we need to be honest about something. Rihanna isn't just a pop star anymore. She's a culture shifter. A billionaire beauty mogul. A walking brand. Every outfit, every step, every pause she takes on a red carpet is analyzed like scripture. And Rocky? He's not just her plus one. He's an icon in his own right. A fashion innovator. A hip-hop tastemaker. A man who can go from Paris runways to Harlem block parties and look equally at home. Together, they're a unit. A force. A mirror held up to the industry's most relevant values. Authenticity, edge, relevance, and effortless dominance. So when their names hit the private guest list for the 2025 Gotham Film Awards, buzz spread like wildfire. Nobody said it out loud, but everyone was thinking the same thing. This isn't just an appearance. This is a statement. Let's talk about how they arrived. First, the timing. Unlike most stars who time their entrance to avoid being overshadowed, Rihanna and Rocky came in early. Deliberately. They didn't need to compete for spotlight. They are the spotlight. Security doubled up. Photographers surged forward. Even seasoned event staff froze. And then they stepped out of their vehicle. Rocky wore a charcoal tuxedo, sharp-lined, paired with custom sneakers from a yet unreleased Finny Men's collaboration. Rihanna? A structural masterpiece of a gown. Black velvet with diamond-studded shoulder accents. Minimal makeup. Glossed lips. Hair slicked into a high-glam bun. Every element was designed to say, don't try this at home. And Meghan? She had. Or at least, she had tried. Remember from Chapter 1, her outfit had drawn comparisons to Rihanna's previous looks. Intentional? Perhaps. But standing side by side, the difference wasn't just in fashion. It was in energy. Rihanna radiated control, confidence, command. Meghan? She looked like someone auditioning for inclusion, waiting to be seen, hoping to be accepted. Now here's where the power dynamics get spicy. Because unlike Meghan, who reportedly had her team pull strings for a general appearance, Rihanna and Rocky were requested by the Gotham Film Committee, personally invited, not just as guests, but as honorees. An insider later confirmed the tribute segment for cultural impact in fashion and film was added specifically to honor the couple's influence across industries. Their table? Center of the room. VIP labeled, surrounded by A-list designers, film producers, and Apple TV execs. Meghan's table? Allegedly near the press corridor, good for photos, bad for networking. Do you see the contrast? One was centered, the other? Orbiting. And yet, Meghan tried to close the gap. Because as Rihanna and Rocky posed on the carpet, Meghan slowly positioned herself closer, hoping, perhaps, for a shared photo op. A happy accident, where one wide-angle shot might catch all three together. But Rocky noticed. His reaction? Smooth. Understated. But decisive. He slightly turned toward Rihanna, shortening the space between them, effectively closing the gap. A subtle shield. A visual barrier. Meghan was no longer within arm's reach, or camera frame. This is where things shift from awkward to symbolic. Because in that moment, Rocky wasn't just protecting a photo. He was protecting brand alignment. Let's not kid ourselves. Celebrity alliances are currency. Who you're seen with matters. Who you choose not to engage with. That's a message. And the message was loud. Back in the ballroom, the tone didn't shift. Multiple witnesses have now confirmed that Meghan attempted to approach the pair during cocktail hour. A nod. A smile. A brief moment of eye contact. But no engagement. Not even a polite deflection. Just nothing. Some say Rocky avoided the glance entirely. Others say Rihanna raised her cocktail glass in a gesture of dismissal. Not rude. Not theatrical. Just cool indifference. And if you think we're reading too much into body language, remember, this is Hollywood. A missed glance is a headline. A micro-expression is a press cycle. But there's another layer we haven't discussed yet. The private history. Because Rihanna and Meghan, their paths have crossed before. Once, in 2016, during a charity campaign in Barbados. And again, indirectly, through mutual acquaintances, stylists, makeup artists, fashion execs. And in every instance, there's been a quiet undercurrent. Rihanna doesn't rate Meghan. Not personally. Not professionally. Not culturally. She tries too hard. She wants to be loved without putting in the work. She's royal, but she's not real. These are just a few of the whispers passed around from fashion insiders. Stylists who've worked with both women. Assistants who've observed them behind the scenes. But perhaps the most cutting observation? She doesn't know who she is, but wants to be everything to everyone. Ouch. And whether or not Rihanna actually said those words doesn't matter. The perception stuck. Which brings us back to the Gotham Film Awards. Because this wasn't just a red carpet moment, it was a hierarchical display. And the hierarchy was brutal. Rihanna and Rocky weren't just there for the event. They were the event. Meghan? She was an intruder. Not by rule, but by vibe. You could feel it in the way the photographers redirected their lenses, in the way stylists whispered, in the way assistants reshuffled seating cards behind closed doors. And here's the final blow. As the couple accepted their tribute award, a video montage played. Clips from their Met Gala appearances. Footage of Rihanna's pregnancy fashion campaigns. Interviews. Music videos. Fashion editorials. Runway crossovers. Film cameos. But nowhere was Meghan featured. Not in the montage. Not in the voiceover. Not even in a flashback frame. She wasn't just snubbed on the carpet. She was edited out of the culture. Let that sink in. And when the camera panned over the audience during the applause, it caught a flash of Meghan, smiling, clapping, alone at her table, her eyes slightly unfocused. Like she was clapping, but not really present. You have to wonder what was going through her mind in that moment. Was she embarrassed? Angry? Confused? Or was she, like so many watching from home, finally realizing that the ladder she thought she was climbing had quietly been pulled away? That's the cruel irony of celebrity culture. You're not told when you're no longer relevant. No one sends you a memo. No one revokes your access badge. You just stop being invited to the conversations that matter. But Meghan hadn't given up. Not yet. Because what she did next, in the VIP lounge, would kick off a series of whispers, text messages, and screenshots that would go viral before the night even ended. And it all started with one attempted selfie, with a model who definitely didn't want to be in the frame. What came next would spark the most humiliating leak of the night. And it wasn't even from the press. How far would you go to be in the shot? Would you wait patiently for an invitation? Or would you inch your way into the frame, millimeter by millimeter, hoping no one notices? Or worst, hoping they do? Because after being visually iced out by Rihanna and A$AP Rocky on the red carpet, Meghan Markle didn't retreat. She recalculated. And what followed in the dimly lit VIP lounge of the 2025 Gotham Film Awards was perhaps even more desperate and far more revealing than the public rejection itself. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was a series of subtle moves, micromaneuvers, polished, practiced, performed like someone who'd studied the social gymnastics of Hollywood's elite and tried, desperately, to replicate the rhythm. But the rhythm was off. And the room? It felt it. Let's break it down. After the awards program began and most of the guests filtered into the lounge, Meghan remained active. She wasn't tucked away in a corner. She wasn't quietly sipping champagne and engaging in private conversation. No, Meghan was moving. Float. Pivot. Pause. Smile. Nod. Pivot again. You've seen it before, at galas, film festivals, after-parties. That gentle glide some celebrities perform when they're trying to accidentally get noticed. To accidentally be caught in a candid. To accidentally end up in a group selfie. But when it's too rehearsed, too thirsty, it shows. And that night, it showed. The first noticeable attempt came near the mirrored champagne bar, where Bella Hadid had been chatting with two fashion designers and a well-known Netflix exec. Meghan approached from the left. A step here. A pause. Pretending to examine the drink list. But not ordering. She made eye contact with Bella. Smile. Bella, gracious but wary, gave a polite nod. Then Meghan did something that turned heads. She lifted her phone. Can we get a quick pic? Bella hesitated. It wasn't rejection. It wasn't agreement. It was a pause. And in these circles, a pause says everything. Because when you're among peers, the ask doesn't need to be spoken. It just happens. Someone pulls out a phone, others lean in. Flash. Done. But Meghan had to ask. And Bella hesitated. She eventually leaned in, but only slightly. She didn't place a hand around Meghan. She didn't smile widely. She didn't even say anything during the snap. The result? An awkward, one-sided selfie. Meghan beaming. Bella. Half-turned, mid-blink, already pulling away. That photo never made it to Meghan's socials. But it did make it into the group chats. We'll come back to that. Because the next attempt was even more transparent. Inside the lounge's central seating area, a tightly knit group of influencers and stylists gathered for casual photos. You've seen this crew on Instagram. edgy fashion editors, high-profile makeup artists, the cool table of digital Hollywood. Meghan hovered. Not too close, but not far enough to ignore. One of the stylists, not realizing she was in earshot, muttered, "Is she circling us like a hawk?" That got a laugh. Meghan pretended not to hear, but a server close by caught her expression and described it later as glassy but determined, like someone too proud to back down. Here's where it gets even messier. One stylist, likely out of guilt, turned toward Meghan and gestured loosely with their phone. "You want in?" Finally, a moment. Meghan stepped forward. Pose ready. Click. But before she could thank them or even glance at the screen, the stylist turned away, already talking to someone else. The phone stayed tucked in their hand. The photo? Never shared. Meghan didn't ask for it. She just smiled, paused, then quietly walked away. It would have ended there, if not for what came next. Because later that night, someone leaked it. Not the photo, the chat about the photo. A screenshot hit social media within hours. A group text thread titled Gotham Lounge Chaos, filled with stylists and junior PR reps gossiping about Meghan's maneuvers. She tried to slide into everything. Felt like a LinkedIn networking event with her. She literally stalked Bella like it was high school. But the line that broke the internet? She doesn't want a photo. She wants proximity. Let's unpack that. Because that's the quiet part no one says out loud in Hollywood. Photos are currency. Proximity is power. And when your star is fading, the only way to fake relevance is to be seen near someone who hasn't fallen yet. It wasn't about Bella. It wasn't about stylists. It was about the illusion that Meghan was still in the inner circle, still part of the scene, still invited to the metaphorical table. But here's the tragedy. She was invited to the building, but not the table. You could feel the discomfort radiating from the lounge. Not hostility, not bullying, just avoidance. At one point, a makeup artist jokingly staged a boomerang video with a caption, "Avoiding eye contact like," and gestured toward a corner of the room. The implication? Meghan was standing right there. People laughed. Meghan didn't flinch. She smiled, clutched her glass, adjusted her hair. The performance continued. And yet, not once, did any major celeb initiate conversation with her. Not a single shared photo. Not a single Instagram tag. Not a single "great to see you" comment on any verified account. Even the official Gotham Awards photo gallery posted dozens of celebrity candidates that night. Meghan appeared in exactly two. Both wide shots. Both as background filler. And both times, alone. Now, ask yourself, how does someone go from a globally televised royal wedding to background filler at a mid-tier industry event? Is it public fatigue? Overexposure? Or something deeper? Because what this chapter reveals is not just about awkward selfies or missed photo ops. It's about perception, power, and the terrifying moment when a celebrity realizes the cameras still flash, but no one's framing them. And yet, the worst was still to come. Because hours later, as the group chat screenshots spread like wildfire, someone leaked something else. A draft of Meghan's post-event Instagram caption. Yes, a drafted caption. Allegedly shared by a former assistant in a closed group thread, the caption read, "Grateful to be surrounded by fearless creators, cultural disruptors, and timeless elegance tonight at the Gotham Awards." So inspired, so energized. It was never posted, because by then, the internet had already written the narrative for her. She wasn't surrounded. She was sidelined, and the draft became just another piece of proof in the growing theory. Meghan wasn't participating in culture. She was chasing it, and failing. So what did she do next? She tried to change the story, spin the moment, regain control of the narrative. But that attempt, Meghan's frantic post-event media maneuvering, would backfire more spectacularly than anything yet. Because you can't spin silence. And when even your own stylists start leaking behind-the-scenes regrets, well, it stops being a PR issue and starts looking like a full-blown exile. It was less than 3 seconds long. A tilt of the head, a subtle sidestep, a pair of eyes that never made contact. But in the era of viral culture, that's all it takes. 3 seconds, one video, and Meghan Markle became a global meme. You've seen it. Everyone has. Rihanna standing statuesque under the Gotham Awards backdrop, expression unreadable. ASAP Rocky leaning into a cool pose beside her. Meghan standing just a few feet behind them, smiling, waiting, hoping. only to be shut out with a smooth, practiced pivot. No words, no confrontation, no scandalous scene, just precision. And in those frames, the internet found its new obsession, a real-time rejection. The Duchess of Sussex, once the centerpiece of a royal fairy tale, now reduced to an awkward photobomber on the sidelines of a power couple's moment. But how did a red carpet moment turn into an international incident? Let's unpack it. The now infamous video clip first surfaced on a low-follower TikTok account belonging to a fan who'd been camped outside the Gotham Awards venue. She caught the moment by accident. Her phone had been trained on Rihanna and Rocky, of course, but Meghan's sudden appearance in the background, her subtle shift toward them, caught her off guard. She uploaded it with the caption, "Wait, was that Meghan Markle trying to sneak into their pic?" Grimacing face. Within an hour, it had 200,000 views. By morning, over 15 million. It wasn't just viral, it was radioactive. And the internet wasted no time digging in. Frame-by-frame analysis. Twitter threads dissecting body language. Fashion YouTubers comparing Meghan's gown to Rihanna's, arguing it was a deliberate knockoff. One user summed it up brutally. Meghan didn't just get snubbed. She got evaporated. And it wasn't just Twitter's usual vultures. It was mainstream. Vogue posted a coy "Who wore it better?" piece. BuzzFeed ran a headline. Red carpet royalty meets pop culture ice queen. Guess who got left out? Even The Cut, usually sympathetic to Meghan, called it a masterclass in silent rejection. But what made the moment so potent? It wasn't just the awkwardness. It was the symbolism. Because this wasn't a scene where Meghan was unfairly ambushed or ridiculed. No one shouted. No one shoved. There were no snarky sound bites. No rude facial expressions. Instead, there was a kind of cool, calculated indifference. And that, in the language of the elite, is the most devastating form of rejection there is. Not rage, not insult, not scandal, oblivion. Let's be honest, Meghan's career has been powered by visibility. From her early days on Suits, to her explosive Oprah interview, to every meticulously staged pap walk in Montecito. Her brand is presence. Her power is in being seen. But this time, her presence was erased in real time. The world watched it happen, and they laughed. Now, here's where things get uglier. Because Meghan's team didn't stay quiet. A source close to her camp quickly began reaching out to media outlets, trying to reframe the narrative. The pushback? That the video was taken out of context. That Meghan and Rihanna exchanged words earlier in the evening. That Meghan wasn't seeking a photo. She was simply walking past. But no one bought it. Because you can't spin what everyone saw. And worse, you can't spin what everyone felt. Because for many viewers, this moment crystallized something they'd felt for months, maybe years, that Meghan's brand had begun to feel hollow, performed, miscalculated. It wasn't that she was disliked. It was that she was dismissed. People didn't hate her. They just didn't care. That's what made this snub so powerful. It didn't come from tabloids. It came from Rihanna. And that hit different. Because Rihanna isn't just a celebrity. She's an icon. A gatekeeper of cool. A symbol of authenticity in a sea of tryhards. So when she turned away, not rudely, not dramatically, just decisively, it didn't just exclude Meghan from the frame. It excluded her from the conversation. And the internet knew it. Memes exploded. Some showed Rihanna posing regally while Meghan stood behind her with a superimposed caption. That one friend who always shows up uninvited. Others had Rocky whispering, "Don't make eye contact. She'll think we know her." But perhaps the most brutal? A split screen. Left, Meghan walking down the aisle at her royal wedding, thousands cheering. Right, Meghan being cropped out of Rihanna's frame, no one noticing. Caption, how it started, how it's going. The cruel humor was relentless. But behind the jokes, there was a darker implication. That Meghan, for all her talk of authenticity, empowerment, and controlling her narrative, was still chasing relevance the same way everyone else does, through associations, through borrowed spotlight. And when that spotlight turned elsewhere, there was nothing left but forced smiles and fading applause. Now, let's talk about the psychological impact. Several body language experts weighed in across YouTube and TikTok. One, a former FBI analyst, said, "You can actually see the micro-expression of panic. Watch her left eye. It twitches. Her smile drops for a fraction of a second. That's real distress. not stage performance. Another noted how Meghan clenched her purse slightly tighter when Rihanna turned away, a subconscious signal of social rejection. It's easy to scoff at this, but consider, Meghan has built her post-royal identity around controlling perception. She signed multi-million-dollar deals, hired elite PR firms, curated her public presence down to the lighting angles. And yet, one candid video shot by a random fan, without her consent, toppled weeks of planning. And the effects didn't stop there. Because the snub began bleeding into other narratives. Old stories were unearthed. Remember that awkward Met Gala invite snub? Resurfaced. The time Beyoncé allegedly ghosted her texts after the Netflix docuseries? Back in the spotlight. Even photos from Serena Williams' baby shower, where Meghan was conspicuously absent, began circulating again with captions like, "Meghan's invite got lost in the mail again." It was a pile-on. And for someone whose entire public strategy rests on dignity, grace, and empowerment, the optics were devastating. But what happened behind the scenes was even worse. Because as the video gained traction, so did internal whispers from within the Gotham Awards committee. Allegedly, some team members expressed regret about allowing Meghan on the guest list at all. She wasn't here for the films, one source reportedly said. She was here for the photos. Another added, "We had to rearrange the seating chart last minute." She was pushing for VIP proximity. And perhaps the sharpest dagger? A stylist who attended the after-party told Deux Moi anonymously. It felt like she was playing chess with everyone's positions. Like we were props in her comeback scene. This was more than a social misstep. This was a credibility collapse. And Meghan knew it. Because what she did next, in a desperate attempt to reclaim control, would spark even more backlash. A calculated Instagram post, a fumbled PR pitch, and a rumored call to a celebrity friend that went very sideways. All triggered by 3 seconds of footage. The kind of footage you can't delete, can't sue, can't bury, because the world saw it. And what came next would expose just how far Meghan was willing to go to erase it. What's more painful than being rejected in public? Being ignored in private. The red carpet snub may have stolen the spotlight, but what unfolded behind the velvet ropes? Out of the public eye, off the official live stream, where no PR team could spin the narrative, was even more damning. Because once the flashes died down and the cameras turned inward, the real story began. Meghan Markle, alone in a room full of power, influence, and cultural capital, and yet utterly disconnected. The VIP lounge at the Gotham Film Awards wasn't just a social space. It was a currency exchange. Fame, relevance, and influence were traded with every handshake, selfie, and whispered introduction. It's where film deals get soft-pitched over champagne, where magazine covers get seeded in compliments, where alliances are born in 3-second, "Hey, so good to see you," nods. But this year, Meghan wasn't in on the trade. She was frozen out. Let's go back to the moment she stepped into the lounge. Sources inside the event confirmed Meghan didn't take her seat right away. Instead, she lingered, posed near the bar, hovered by key clusters of celebrities, searching for an opening. But the room didn't open. And here's where the first major tell occurred, her seating placement. Event organizers typically assign tables well in advance. The inner ring of the VIP zone, centered near the stage, is reserved for honorees, major presenters, and A-list guests. Meghan's team reportedly lobbied hard to secure her a high-visibility seat near other power players. But when the final layout dropped, Meghan's name appeared on the edge of the second ring. Not in the shadows, but certainly not center stage. Closer to stylists than to stars. Was it a snub? Or just protocol? Some say it was politics. That Rihanna's team had subtly requested no overlap. Others claim it was logistical. "We just didn't know what category she fit in," one coordinator admitted off-record. She's not promoting anything. She's not part of the film community anymore. It was awkward. And awkward is exactly what she walked into. One attendee described Meghan's entrance into the lounge as tense. She was smiling, but it felt rigid, like she was scanning the room, not enjoying it. The room, in turn, scanned her right back and moved on. The first cluster she approached? A Netflix table occupied by 2 rising directors and a popular young actress. Meghan stood nearby for a full 30 seconds, drink in hand, waiting for eye contact. None came. The actress later reportedly said, I just didn't know what to say to her. She wasn't accessible. The second attempt was bolder. Meghan approached a group that included 2 magazine editors and a high-end stylist she'd worked with in the past. She smiled, complimented the stylist's recent campaign, and asked about a designer they'd featured at Paris Fashion Week. Polite nods followed, but no invitation to join the conversation. No follow-up. Within a minute, Meghan had moved on again. Another source inside the lounge texted a friend, captured in now-viral screenshots. She's walking around like it's a wedding reception. Everyone's trying not to make eye contact. It sounds cruel, but it wasn't overt malice. It was something subtler, something colder. It was calculated distance. And that's the killer in Hollywood. Not being hated, but being managed. Now let's talk about the side entrance incident. Something that didn't make headlines, but lit up private conversations among insiders. Meghan was seen slipping out a side corridor about 20 minutes after the Rihanna Rocky tribute segment ended. No security, no PR flanking her. Just gone. Was it a bathroom break? A moment to breathe? Or something else? Speculation erupted. She was looking for an exit, one stylist claimed. She needed to reset. It was that awkward. When she returned 10 minutes later, the vibe hadn't changed. Her posture was stiffer, her smile tighter. Gone was the gentle glide she'd entered with. Now it was all armor. And then came the final blow. About halfway through the evening, a major film producer, who had previously worked with Meghan on a voiceover project, arrived fashionably late. He did the room rounds quickly, shaking hands, air-kissing cheeks. And when he passed Meghan, he walked right past her. No nod, no pause, no acknowledgement. Meghan blinked, then smiled again. But those who saw it say it was the first time her mask visibly cracked. She was holding on by a thread, one attendee said. It was like she finally realized. This wasn't a room she could finesse anymore. But perhaps the cruelest part of the night wasn't what was said. It was what wasn't. Because inside the VIP room, conversations flew about upcoming projects, award predictions, and red carpet looks. But no one mentioned Meghan. She was there, and yet absent. Even worse, she was a liability. A stylist whispered to a friend, "If I get photographed with her tonight, my client's brand might catch flack tomorrow." And that's when it became clear. This wasn't just a cold shoulder. It was contagion management. Meghan wasn't just being ignored, she was being avoided. And the question becomes, why? Is it because she's polarizing? Because her brand, once built on authenticity and disruption, now feels hollow and manipulative? Because her presence has come to represent something too heavy, too complicated, too unpredictable? Maybe all of the above. But the truth is, Hollywood doesn't like unpredictability unless it's profitable. And Meghan? She's not bringing in numbers anymore. Her Netflix shows underperformed. Spotify dropped her. The As Ever brand collapsed before it could properly launch. Even her most public appearances have turned from empowering to embarrassing. So what do the power players do? They step away. Quietly. Strategically. Exactly like they did that night. And if you think Meghan didn't notice, she did. Because near the end of the evening, she made one last attempt to reclaim the narrative. One last photo. One last moment. She approached a group of fashion influencers taking boomerang videos near a flower installation. She smiled, waited, posed near the edge of the frame. The influencers shifted subtly. She was cropped out in real time. And that, dear viewer, is the modern exile. No doors slammed. No scenes made. Just 1,000 tiny edits. Crops.